But there's a buzzword we haven't talked about yet, Irene, which is the Metanomics, the economics of the metaverse. I hear it more and more, and everything Stephanie just said, that's why it came back to my mind, is all about Metanomics. It's part of the overall economics of the metaverse. It's not only about transaction, it's not only about gaming, it's not only about socializing, but it's also about saving the planet. And that's the reason why it's becoming so powerful. It's because it's becoming global pretty much, because you're touching every single aspect of what we see in a traditional or normal, what we've been used to economy. And the Metanomics is now taking in consideration things that you would not have thought of, like even 6 months or a year ago. And that's another buzzword that I wanted to, we've been talking about NFT, we're talking about blockchain, we're talking about metaverse, a lot of buzzwords, but this one is something that you hear more and more today.
Thank you, Nicolas. So, Stephanie, how would we want to summarize our talk today? We touched on a lot of buzzwords, but most importantly, great examples, from real businesses, from real customers, and the advantages they get with new tech. So, in closing, few takeaways, please, for the customers, for technologists out there, or just for people who want to learn a little bit more about the future we're all facing.
So to summarize in this discussion, I think what is important is not to be scared. I can hear that people are scared and we're going to live in a very weird world but it's not. We had the same kind of conversation, a little bit more than 10 years ago when the social media really boomed and we started to have this kind of new way of interaction and so on. I think that we should really consider the fact that this will open a new era of new type of experiences, new type of services that could also be very purpose driven. I was talking, because this is our mission at ORIGYN Luxury, that all this technology can be turned into something for good. And when it comes to fighting against counterfeiting, it's also fighting against the impact on the environment of this counterfeit product, also fight against child labor, and also make sure that all the women working in the industry have a decent condition there. So we should make sure that we turn and we leverage the technology for good, for bringing added value to the market, for bringing more transparency, more sustainability, more traceability, and bring a new era of giving the power to the end consumer. It's very important, and be more into something like emphasize diversity, emphasize more equity in the economy. And I think it's very interesting because on the metaverse we can imagine crazy things, but we can also imagine a lot of great things for good. And I think it will be my last word.
Thank you, Stephanie. So, Nicolas, in closing, okay, what takeaways we want to leave our audience with?
Well, as I mentioned, I focused a lot around metaverse, and Stephanie said quite everything. So it's hard for me now to add even more on this. But what's important is, I think we talked about risk and everything. One risk I see that is that if companies don't embrace that change, that to me is a huge risk, because today the Metanomics is here, and we're again, because we have new type of consumers coming in, like as Stephanie mentioned several times, Gen Z or the millennials, and these people now, that's what they expect. So to me, that would be the biggest risk, is the fact that companies say, "Oh, we'll see how it pans out." You have companies like Meta, like Facebook, like Google, like Nike, I mentioned, Carrefour in France. A lot of companies are pouring in millions and hundreds of millions of dollars into this business, and not jumping into the bandwagon would be, to me, the biggest risk that companies could take. Obviously, there's always step-by-step approach, and that's what's really important. And I would advise companies to start, by looking at the market, looking at what products they could sell on the metaverse or what type of services they could provide. And obviously not go from one day to the other full metaverse. That wouldn't work. But it's really important that companies start strategizing this approach to metaverse. The technology is here. You have great companies, and again, it's coming from me. I think it has a little bit more credibility than coming from Stephanie. But I've been really impressed working with ORIGYN on their technology, on their plug and play solution. That's what makes a product successful, when it's easy to use, and when it's personalized, and that's what they provide. And so today you have a lot of providers in other fields, and putting them all together, this is where you're going to really optimize your experience.
Beautiful.
Learning by doing. I think this is an important message.
Yep. In past years, we talked a lot about digital transformation. We still talk a lot about digital transformation. How about metaverse transformation, Nicolas? Do you see that coming?
It's part of the digital transformation. It's a change of mindset. It's a change of economics. It's a change of business strategy. You used to sell boxes, and you now sell solutions or virtual solutions. It's another word. But digital transformation and metaverse transformation. You're absolutely right. That's what it is.
Thank you both. Thank you so much for your time.
Irene.
Exciting conversation. Yep, absolutely. Thank you.
Thanks, Irene.